This is your first Zoom ever?
Work. It was on a meeting, like another meeting app. They did like, they're doing these interviews for like fun, but yeah. Hi.
Hi. It's so good to see you. How are you feeling?
Good. I feel really good.
You look fantastic.
That's what's irritating. Thank you. I feel amazing, but I'm still stuck in the house.
Yeah. So, all right, let's just get right into it. So for people that are watching or listening, tell them who you are and what's been going on with you. Talk to me.
Oh. So I'm Janine, and I'm a student at Shakti Yoga, and I was diagnosed COVID-19 positive a month ago.
Wow.
Yeah.
And how did you find out that you were that you had COVID? Like, were you having symptoms? What happened?
Well, so my daughter at work, she got a text message that said that somebody she was working with was going to be out for the foreseeable future. But of course, we knew what that meant. So she texted her, and she said that she was having some back pain and she's going to be tested the next day. Immediately we locked down from that moment, because Corinna had just worked the day before with her for 12 hours.
Wow.
Yeah, but so later on that week she got her result that it was positive. So of course, when you hear that somebody that you know and that you've been around for a long period of time is positive, the 2 weeks, we could say like 14 days. So we were like hyper sensitive for the next 2 weeks. The 2 weeks was up on Monday, and Corinna woke up on Friday. Bikes.
She woke up on Friday. What? I didn't hear the last
Friday. So the 2 weeks was on a Monday.
Right.
The Friday before the Monday, where we were going to be in the clear.
Yeah.
Because we had been ahead in quarantine for the 2 weeks, she woke up with body aches.
Oh no. Okay.
Yeah.
Now, did
So
you guys go that day?
No. So she just in bed. She was sick in bed the whole weekend, and she called Bay Health on Monday and tested on Tuesday.
Okay.
Yeah.
And she tested positive first.
Yes. And Monday I started to feel. So it was like bad body aches. Like that starts out with like a really weird bad back pain.
Okay.
Like
upper
like
back, low back?
Like muscle tension. Yeah. I was because I'm working from home. So I was sitting, and I was like, I need to get off this chair.
Yeah. Right. Yeah.
And then all of a sudden, it's so hard to explain, because that first week it was weird. I just had it just felt like a cold, but that second week knocked us right out.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So how did you get tested?
We called the Bay Health. So we called the Bay Health has a hotline.
Okay.
And they ask you your symptoms. They go through, have you been exposed? What symptoms are you feeling? And then they set you up with an appointment, and you go to Dover Downs.
Oh.
Yeah.
That's okay. And Dover Downs is closed, so that makes sense. That's
it's over by the Monster. So if you go down go behind Home Depot, they've got it's all drive-through.
Okay. Persimmon Tree Road, right?
Yes, I think that's what that's called.
And you just go down and past the big Monster like you're going back to lot 10 for the parties?
Yeah. So
Okay.
you don't go down. So you just drive down there, and it takes you back. You're literally right next to the Monster. They got
right before that bridge.
Yeah.
Okay. And that's nice. So they have it all outside, and it's just drive-through.
Everybody stays in their car. You're given strict instructions. Keep your windows rolled up. Wear your mask. When you first pull in, there's a lady there, and she'll say, keep your mask on, don't roll down your window until you're instructed, and have your driver's license ready. And then you pull up to the next person, and you put your driver's license up to the window, and they check you in. And then you drive down, and there's a thing called triage. I'm a pro now. It's so funny, because they'll ask, they're like, do you want the paperwork? I'm like, no, this is my 4th time.
You're going to have to get a punch card for a free coffee at some point.
Or something. I should get a prize. They're starting to recognize me. I know they are.
So crazy. So there's no medicine or cure for it, right?
No,
So what do you do?
you just lay in bed. I just slept for like 6 days.
Did you feel like you needed to sleep? Was your body like,
Oh,
Janine, go to bed, bitch? You know?
I couldn't even. So there was, it's funny because I don't like to be not, I can't, it takes a lot to knock me down. And
Yeah.
then there was one day I'm working remotely from home. So I was like, oh, I can log in today. So I got up and I went to get a shower. I couldn't even stand in the shower. I turned the shower off and literally went back to my bed, sopping wet, and just laid down because I had no energy to even stand in the shower.
That's insane.
I
Did
know.
you did you ever at any point feel incredibly scared for your life?
No, no.
Okay.
Yeah. No. Yeah. Mm-mm. I
Good.
never felt the need to call the doctor or go to the hospital. And I never had anything. It's funny because I keep talking. I'm like, I never felt like it was in my chest. But so when you test positive, you're assigned, so Bay Health assigned us a nurse that was calling us every other day. And the Department of Health was calling us every couple of days. So we had somebody at Bay Health or at the Department of Health that was calling us as well. I forgot where I was going with this.
Um, no, it's totally fine. I don't even know.
Yeah.
I think you were just saying like just how they're taking care of you.
Yeah, I never felt like I had to go to the hospital. I just for me it was more like it was more like flu symptoms, like body aches, chills, fever. I know that's where I was going. I never felt the respiratory stuff.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, except for that. So when the nurse called, that's where I was going. She says, "Are you having shortness of breath?" And I had walked down the stairs and I was having trouble. I'm like, "Not until just now."
Interesting.
Yeah.
And I've talked to one other person who was also tested positive for COVID-19, and she said the same thing. She said
Yeah.
a lot of it was just in her body, and she was having incredible headaches.
Yeah.
Yes.
I did have that. So when my fever finally broke, and I immediately had a headache. And the nurse had called that morning and she said that was normal. And then I got this god awful. So you hear people losing smell and taste. I didn't, my daughter did. But I had this horrid taste in my mouth, like a sweet magnetic taste. It was so gross.
No, my mom and my mother-in-law have both had chemotherapy treatments.
Uh-huh.
And they've said, I mean, I know that's not the same as what we're talking about, but they've said that they've also had that kind of metally taste. My mother-in-law says that she doesn't eat, when she eats food, she only eats with plastic utensils now, because when she eats with the metal, it makes it even worse.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
So
So
I
you
wonder if
also,
that's like a body chemical, like a reaction in your body.
yeah, I would almost think, I mean, I would think so, but I'm not that smart to even like try to process that. But I mean, yeah, that makes sense. It seems like it's probably some kind of chemical reaction in your body that's creating that type of, like, I guess, respiratory taste or something like that.
So
Doesn't sound
gross.
like fun. Do you still have that? Is it gone?
No,
No.
that's gone. I've been symptom free. I'm over 2 weeks, but so this is the funny part. So when you're symptom free for 3 days, 3 to 7 days, the Department of Health releases you. And
Okay.
the lady from the Department of Health calls and I was released. My daughter was released a couple of days before me and then I was released, right? So on the phone I said, does that mean that I'm free to leave the house? And she laughed with me and said, sure, you're free to go to the great wilderness, or something along that lines. And we joked and we laughed and we carried on. So we were so excited because that Sunday was Mother's Day. And we're like, we're free. So we dropped something off to my mom on the porch and we went to the grocery store and we went to Target. We were only out for an hour, but, and we came back in. I've done really good at like locking down. So that's what I'm most proud of, is I have no doubt that we didn't infect anybody else.
Good.
So, we went out for that hour or whatever, and Corinna had to get tested because her job is with kids. So her nurse said that we recommend you get a negative test before you go back to work. Department of Health says you be symptom free for 7 days and you can go back to work. Well, I was on the phone with my boss and I said, Corinna's got to get a negative test to go back to work. But Department of Health says I can go back, I'm free to go back. And he goes, well, I think we're going to want a negative test too. He was meaning a negative test for Corinna, but I took it as a negative test for me. So I voluntarily have asked them to retest me, and I've not gotten a negative test yet.
That's insane. But do you feel like better that you did that, knowing that you haven't gotten a negative test before you go back out into the world?
I do, except for, so when our test results came back and they were positive, Corinna had gone back to work.
She had already gone back to work at this point.
She had gone back to work. She spent a few days with her boyfriend, who she hadn't seen in over a month, because when we found out the other person was positive, we locked down. She didn't go see him at all.
Right.
And so she was like, oh, I'm free. I'm going to see my boyfriend. She's 21.
That would have been the first place I went.
So she goes and hangs out with her boyfriend. Well, then they call with our positive results, and I'm like, she was pulling up, and I've gotten to be real good friends with my nurse, and I'm like, oh no, my daughter was at work, and she goes, oh no, and I'm like, can she not? And she's like, no. She's like, if you're still positive, you could potentially, well, that's, and you know what, and that, I'm thinking that might be what they don't know. Nobody knows anything.
Yeah.
But I have a letter from Department of Health that says I'm free to go.
Yeah. It's just, so you still haven't tested negative. You're still testing positive. Now,
Positive.
I know I've seen on your Facebook feed and a few conversations and stuff. So like, do you think it could just be that you're testing positive for the antibodies, saying that no. So
it's the live virus. Yeah. Well, I don't know about the live virus. From what I've heard, it could be like the dead virus hanging out in your body.
Yeah.
But the antibody test and the COVID test are two different things. And I'll tell you how I know that. So down at BB, my sister-in-law went to go get tested for the antibodies, and the person in front of her had no symptoms at all and tested positive for the live virus.
No symptoms at all, tested positive for live virus.
They were like, what?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
It's because so interesting. It just seems like everybody that I talk to, regardless if whatever it's about, everybody's situation is so unique.
Well, I kept asking her questions. I'm like, how long? And she says, this is the thing. It affects each person. That's why I told you, I'm like, I don't want to give the impression that this is nothing to worry about. For me, it really wasn't anything to worry about.
Right.
But I'm a healthy 43-year-old. I'm on no medications, no underlying health conditions, and I have no family history of any kind of illness. I know my sister-in-law has a friend who's, I believe, younger than me, and spent 8 days in the hospital and nearly ended up in ICU from it. And when I was talking to my nurse, I was asking her, like, what can I expect? And she goes, this is the thing. She goes, I've got a woman that's been testing positive for 2 months and has never had a symptom. And she says, and then I have another person who's been sicker than sick, for over a month and a half. She goes, it affects each person differently.
Yeah. That's just so insane to me.
I know.
Very interesting. It's very, very interesting. So what's the next step for you now? So you're working from home. Is that now, is your job going back to work? Like, does your job have any like expected date to return?
They're going to wait it out a little longer. So they've sent an email. They've been really good. You know what? It's funny because those are the things that have opened my eyes, because of course I don't want to say, my daughter's job has not been so good in dealing with what's going on in the world, hence the outbreak. And then my job has been immediately, they sent us home, we're working remotely. Somebody has to be in the office, so they have one person goes in a day there's like 2 people working in the office on my team. One person goes in a day and works from the office, which I haven't been able to do, obviously.
Right.
But they sent out an email and said that, I know businesses are starting to let people go back to work, but we're not going to do that so quickly. It's going to be a slower phase, and which I appreciate. And
Yeah.
they called and checked on us. It was nice. It gave me a whole new appreciation. I don't curse my job so much these days.
Yeah, that's awesome though. And everybody's handling that differently too, the rephasing or the reopening and the different phases. And man, it is just, again, insane how many different people are coming at it from so many different aspects. Some people are excited to have it reopened and are like, chomping at the bit to get back out there. Some people like don't even want to open their front door. They're just locking down still.
Yeah.
It's very interesting to see how people are responding to the pandemic.
Well, and I'm finding that so when Corinna tested positive and she'd been to her boyfriend, we panicked because she'd been around so many people. And then so she had been around her boyfriend, who then had to go into, he's been on a quarantine now, and he was in a car with a boyfriend of a friend of hers, who then freaked out because she lives with her great grandmother, and up until that point she wasn't worried. Up until somebody that you've been exposed, it changes your whole.
Yes.
Then automatically you're like, oh crap. And then you start to think about the people that you can affect.
Yeah. And it was a part of a lot of conversations like, oh, well, I'm not really too worried about it. I don't know anybody that's had COVID-19. You let me know when you know somebody personally that has it. And I kind of felt like that at the beginning too. It seems very foreign and it seems like it can't happen to you until you start to see people that and you have really deep relationships with, and you're like,
oh yeah,
they have COVID-19, and it makes it very real. It makes it very personal at that point, so then you start to take it a little bit more seriously, I think.
Well, yeah, I can't tell you the number of people are like, you're the only person I know that has it. And of course they get, they're curious. That's, about what's going on. How was it? I've had many of these conversations. I don't know anybody. And I know of an instance that somebody had found out that they lost it, like yelling and screaming, and how, I was over there and I hugged her and how dare you, and
Oh, so that's a good segue into the next question that I was going to ask, is the stigma surrounding the diagnosis. Do you find that you're facing any stigma, or maybe just what you were just saying with like a personal experience?
You know what? I've been on lockdown. I've literally, for the last probably 7 weeks, I was out of the house that 1 hour.
You seem to be doing pretty well.
Yeah, no. Well, you know what? There's that, the whole yoga thing going within. I've gained a whole new perspective on a lot of things. I've had a lot of time to think.
Yes. And what a great prep for your training. A lot of time to just go inward and to really like focus and understand what really matters. It was there was a lot of good time to go inward and really do some work, right?
Yeah, for sure. If people, and I understand that loneliness and things like that affects people differently. And I will be honest, when I got this last positive result, I had a mental break. I mean, I cried for 3 hours, and my poor daughter. And for the record, this last time my daughter tested negative.
Oh, well,
so she's finally negative and I'm still positive. So I had a mental break, but she found out the next day. So then she comes downstairs and she's rubbing it in my face. She's like, you got the Rona and I don't.
You got the Rona and I don't. Oh my goodness. Yeah. She sounds like the best daughter ever.
Yeah. She brought me the Rona.
Yeah. Well, what kind of daughter would she be if she didn't share,
Yeah.
Well, and you had said was it last year or the year before, you had actually tested positive for H1N1?
Yes. You know what? I never get sick unless it's one of these damn pandemics. We caught the H1N1 too. Yeah.
That's just crazy to me, because it's like, it just seems like, those were pretty serious illnesses.
Mm-hmm.
Are they considering them illnesses or diseases? I want to say it right. It's an illness.
I think viruses.
Virus.
Virus.
Sure. Right. These people will be crazy in the comments. Yeah, it just seems like, those are pretty intense viruses, and maybe your immune system is just like King freaking Kong.
I know I have a really good immune system. We've known that. I still have a grandmother that's alive. Corinna's 21 and has a great grandmother still alive. That's not, my family's pretty healthy people. So we knew that we have healthy immune systems, but except for when it comes to pandemics.
That's just so crazy. That's so insane.
Because I've had people ask me too to compare the two, and it's so funny because the H1N1 is so far gone that I don't really remember. Like, I remember we had it and I remember we were sick, but I couldn't tell you if one was worse. I know this is the longest I've ever been sick. It was 10 days I was sick.
Just down and out for 10 days.
For 10 days, I was down and out. Even though I kept trying to get up thinking I was better. So like I was at work Monday and Tuesday, and I went to work Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, about halfway through. I was like, I'm not going to make it through the day. And then I was out the whole next week.
Now, have you heard of the contact tracing?
I have.
Now, have they talked to you about that since you've tested positive?
No.
I'm very interested to see where that goes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Nobody has said anything about any of that. And my daughter just asked this morning, she's like, have they asked us about donating plasma? And I'm like, no, nobody said anything about that. We've determined, I said, I'd like to donate plasma and I'm probably going to do it, but we're going to save her in case somebody we love needs, we're going to be selfish in case somebody, I'll donate for the people we don't know, and we're going to save hers in case somebody we love needs it.
Yeah. It's when I was birthing Nyla, and part of my paperwork, I was given the option to save part or maybe all, I don't know, of my placenta. And I guess there's some type of something inside of the placenta that if you are ever diagnosed with some type of like terminal illness, you can use a part of that placenta as like medicine to cure you. But it costs $725 to extract it and for the government to hold it for you.
That's so sweet.
I guess it's like, I'm assuming it would need to be held like a science lab or something would have to hold it. It would need to be like,
or like a cryo chamber, something you see in a sci-fi movie.
Exactly. Yeah. And I decided not to do that. And I was like, because you know how I am, so I don't even think I need to say it on air, but I was like, I would love to do that. But then I found out you had to pay for it and somebody else was going to hold it. I was like, nah, I'm good. I'm not doing that. But now I think back and I'm like, I almost wonder if something like that would be maybe not now. Would be useful at least as medicine now, because like even like you were saying to extract the with plasma for the future. It's just I wonder if that would work.
Yeah.
Often since all this has happened.
Science is interesting, isn't it?
Science is very interesting.
It is very interesting. Yeah.
So when is your next test? Do you have one scheduled?
Tuesday. I have a running date at the Dover Downs with a Q-tip.
Date every week.
That poor woman, when she called me this time, I'm like, I am testing voluntarily. You guys wouldn't even tested me had I asked you to test me.
Yeah.
But I don't feel right. I would feel completely awful if I infected somebody and a family member of theirs passed because of me. If I caught word. I know we were on edge for a while. This past when because Corinna had been with her boyfriend, but he tested negative, she tested negative, so that but for a while we were
I bet
but we were released. We got a letter. They said go.
Goodness. So and that's also kind of I guess perplexing too, that you got the green light go, but you're still testing positive.
So, and how many people are getting this letter and leaving that? My mom has a friend who was really sick, and the Department of Health apparently, I'm just telling everybody's business, and this is but whatever.
Does your mom have internet? Is she that savvy?
Yes, she does. But apparently he had tested. He was really sick, and the Department of Health had released him and said that he was free. And he's like, "No, I'm not. I'm still running a fever."
Yeah, you know, it makes you wonder.
Yeah.
It's very perplexing because again, there's just so many different situations. You hear just all this different stuff. Yeah. And you do wonder
Well, and
people.
you do get different answers from different, I haven't received another call. I thought for sure when we tested positive again that second time that all those phone calls that you got were going to start over, but they haven't. I only get the weekly call giving me my test results. Which I understand because there's lots of sick people out there that they've got to deal with and make sure that they're okay. But I was like, but they send the letter. If somebody gets that letter, they're gonna just they're like I was. I went out. I'm like, I'm free. Out
Yeah.
I go. Yeah, but at this point, I'm hoping and praying for the immunity. You don't even know if you're immune once you've had it. So.
Yeah, and I think that's the scariest part all the way around for so many people is just the unknown of everything. And it doesn't matter how much yoga you practice or how many times a day you meditate, there is no preparing for something like this, for the unknown.
No.
And it's like I'm excited to reopen in June, June 1st, but I'm also super hesitant.
I mean, I feel like at this point, the only thing that we can do is take the recommendations, the 6 feet apart, wash your hands, wear your masks. We can't, I agree with we can't be locked down forever.
Right.
And the thing is this is from what I've read, because of course, when you get sick, you read everything.
You have to.
Yeah. And but they're not going to have a vaccine for at least a year and a half, and until the vaccine comes or they ramp up testing and they start quarantining people that are sick, there's no way that we're going to get around this.
Yeah. Now, I don't even know. I'm not going to lie. I've been really just kind of keeping myself isolated from it because I just get so overwhelmed with all of it. But is like Italy still locked down? Have they started to reopen economy?
I think they've started to reopen. Yes.
Okay.
From, what? I don't know.
Yeah, I feel like I've been so inwardly focused on the United States that I don't even know what's happening in the outside world, which is kind of a scary thing.
Yeah. What I've been Googling is what are the long-term effects? I read something, my biggest fear is blood clots. Because I heard when I was much younger about a dad who this is morbid, I'm sorry, he was eating breakfast with his family and he died right at the breakfast table because a blood clot entered his lung. So blood clots have always kind of scared me a little bit. And then I read that with this, it could cause blood clots and then it can attack other organs and things like that. And I'm like, what are the long-term effects of this? What is this doing to my body? I even talked to my mom. I think I decided that I'm going to go to my primary care physician and have them do whatever they do, scans or whatever, and make sure, my lungs are okay. Not that I felt that it was in my lungs, but I was a smoker for a long time,
Yeah. And better safe than sorry, and
better to get
second opinion, somebody else unbiased, opinion. Absolutely. It's really smart.
Especially because we don't know the long-term effects. And I think that's what scares me. And that's why you got to stay off the internet. Because when you read on the internet, it's all the bad stuff. I'm probably going to be fine for years to come, but they don't know. It's only been around since December.
Right. Yeah. And, that's something I've never even thought about until you just said it, the long-term effects of people who are surviving from this. Yeah. And there have been a lot of people, again, not to downplay the severity of the virus, but there are a lot of people who are surviving from this virus.
Oh, more so than, yeah.
Yeah. And it makes you wonder about, everything's fine now, they seem fine now, but are there any long-term effects that could, come ramping back up when it's least expected?
And we don't know.
Right. Yeah.
We don't know. Because apparently I was watching, there's a documentary on Netflix about, I forgot what it was called, but apparently this is in relation to that SARS, which I was like.
Well, apparently, and again, I'm not savvy in the science world. I'm not really intelligent outside of certain things, but apparently even just the common flu, I'm sorry, not the common flu, but our common cold and the flu, these are all SARS symptoms. They're all coronaviruses.
They are. Yeah.
This one is just, I guess, a live coronavirus. So that's what makes it, I guess, a little bit different, or it's just,
I think it's like mutated. The only thing that I took away from the documentary is at the end is we have survived many pandemics in the future. We'll survive this one too.
Yeah, and I try to trust that you know, I saw somewhere on like the Discovery Channel or some Animal Planet channel that humans, there's only 0.01% of all living creatures still left on the planet. So I'm going to repeat that again. Yeah, so 0.01% of all living creatures still remain on the planet. So that means that 99.99% of all creatures that have ever inhabited this planet are dead.
Or extinct.
Yeah. Yes. And we've made it.
Yeah.
When I heard that fact, and I'll have to find out where it's from. It was probably some Netflix documentary, but it was definitely about the Earth. Oh, it was planet Will Smith was the narrator, and it was like This Old Rock or something was the name of it, and it was about the Earth. And
wow.
From that, and ever since I heard that, I was like, yo, we're so resilient. Like, and I think that we forget sometimes as human beings how resilient and incredibly strong we are, and how much we've adapted to the environment and the world that we do live in. And I try to hold on to, you know, we've been through it, we've survived it, and you know, it is kind of survival of the fittest. It's just going to keep happening, I think. And for humans to try to step in and, I mean, obviously we want to try to stop the pandemic. We don't want this virus to wipe out all of people, but I think it's almost, ignorant to believe that humans could step in and try to like, and play a role in it somehow. I think it's much larger than we could even.
Well, that goes back to the whole teaching. The body is amazing. The body will heal itself. If you give it the space to heal itself, the body will heal itself. You know? Yeah. It's amazing. You know, if you just fuel it in the right ways, I don't eat the right foods, but I'll preach. if you just like eat the right foods, do a little bit of exercise, you know, nurture yourself, your body will heal.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. And that reminds me of an incredible story about a doctor who got throat cancer and had this huge tumor on his neck. And I guess it came down to having to get chemotherapy was his last option. He was like, no, I'm not doing that. And he decided to, you know, obviously like not be a doctor anymore. He left the hustle and bustle of the big city. He took a train out to, I want to say it was India. I could be wrong. But he went and worked with a monk, like literally in a mountainside. And it was just him and this monk and meditation for a long time. And he was able to shrink the tumor in his neck. And he was able to rid himself of the cancer that he had.
Yeah.
And, you know, so you talk about the power of healing in the body. I mean, it is there, but it's like magic. You have to believe.
You have to believe it. Yeah. Well, your mindset, I think it all starts with your mindset, first of all. Yeah. But, you know, there's lots of indigenous, you know, people and things like that don't have doctors, that don't have the medicines and the antibiotics and things like that we have. And they survive. You know, living in the jungle with Lord knows what disease coming from bats and stuff, you know?
Yeah. And I think you're right. I think when you say that, it reminded me of just kind of like how parasites live on a host, and it makes the host more resilient, you know, but it's like the parasite is almost necessary for the host to become more resilient in a way. So yeah, and we are incredibly strong. So I keep praying for everybody, praying for the people who are sick, praying for the people who aren't sick so they don't get sick. And I've definitely been praying for you and for your family. I'm glad that, I always say it wrong. Corinna. I know it's like Corinne.
Corinna. Yeah.
I'm glad that she did get a negative test, and I'm really hoping that you get yours soon. Really.
I hope so too, because if I stay, you know what, I'm like, I told Corinne, I said, if my next, because we have figured out the system too. So we realized, because Corinna's call didn't come, my the same day my call came this week, and it normally does. So
Right.
I suspected it was going to be negative. And I said, next week, if they call on when you test on Tuesday, they call on Thursday if you're positive. I said, they call me Thursday, I'm not answering the phone. I'm just going to say it's negative, and I'm just going to go about and live my damn life.
Exactly.
Because unfortunately for me, I'm a people pleaser, and I worry way too much about the people around me.
Yeah. And I mean, but you almost have to with something like that, you know? Yeah, now it's like you got to really put that into practice.
Yeah. I'm not locked down because of me. I'm locked down because I don't want, I don't know whose family members are dealing with what, whose family members are on chemotherapy, or whose family member, who's living with their elderly grandmother, or, that's why I stay home,
Right.
honestly. Yeah.
And I think it's important for other people to know that and to hear that, because I think some people really struggle with the staying home order. And we have to remember that it's not really about us. And
It's
until
about,
it's about other people who, it's about children and elderly and susceptible people who don't really have like the option, you know.
yeah.
Um, so I think that's important for other people to know, because, you have to make that choice. Sometimes it's bigger than you. Sometimes the choice has to be for your community. And until they figure out how to quarantine the people who are sick to keep them away from
Yeah.
the public instead of having to keep us away from everybody else, that's just something that we have to practice. And I
Yeah.
do think well, I know what I think, but I'll ask you, do you think that it should be a person's choice at this point to leave their house or to stay home? Or do you think that people should just be ordered to stay in?
You know what? I don't judge.
Yeah.
I feel like we all have a personal responsibility, and we also have to deal with the consequences of our choices.
Hmm.
Um, and I know the guilt and the sadness that I would feel if I affected a friend's family member. That's what, so
Yeah.
I feel like, I do feel like a choice. I feel like we all have a personal responsibility, and it's a personal choice, and you also deal with the consequences of your choice.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's what it boils down to.
Yeah, absolutely.
I'm not, I get it, because I'm done staying in the house. Like, I just want to go out, and Americans, they don't really like being told what to do so much. And,
You don't respond to that very well.
no, don't like being told what to do. And I get it, I can see, I've seen things from all perspectives. I even understand, the small businesses wanting to open. I completely get that. I also, completely get the other side of, people being worried for their family members or being worried for themselves. Because the thing is we can't see anything from their perspective. We can only see it from our own perspective.
Yeah.
I need to feed my family, so I have to open my doors. That's important. That's another worry. So I don't judge. I'm trying to stay out of it. The thing that really annoys me is that I wish that we would be able to have these conversations like you and I are, with a little bit more love and
Yeah.
understanding than, the hate and the name calling.
Yeah.
That's what
Yes, I agree.
we all have our own perspectives, and we can only see, and we can only think from our own perspective.
Experience shapes your reality, right? So, and perspective is everything. And sometimes it is hard to see it from other people's perspective. And these conversations are hard to have for some reason with a lot of different people. It's like we can't just agree that we disagree on certain things and be like, okay, well, I don't really agree with that, but that's fine. Just move on.
Or even understanding that we're both right.
Yes. Yeah. Or
We're
that
both
there is
right.
no right or wrong. I had that argument with somebody the other day. There is no right or wrong, because said person I was arguing with was repeating that I was wrong, and that whatever was happening couldn't be right because I was wrong. And I just kept inserting the fact. I said, I'm not choosing a side. I'm just presenting information. You can't be wrong when you're just presenting information. And sometimes maybe there isn't a right or a wrong. Maybe it's just you have to do what's right for you.
Mm-hmm.
I have to do what's right for me. And hopefully those things will somehow find alignment so that we can get back into a more cohesive world.
Agreed.
But fighting about it ain't going to help anything.
It's so funny because I keep going. I have people on my timeline that is like, my God, I hate to get into this, but my God is bigger than this virus. You know what I mean? And then I think to myself, but what if this virus is God's will? what if God wants you to go home and reflect? You know, like what if you? I understand your God is God, or God is bigger than this virus, but maybe He wants you to stay home and you're not listening. I thought last night about the ark. You know, like when Noah's building the ark and everybody thought he was a fool. You know, and then the big flood came, and there he goes on his ark and everything. You know, maybe this is that for modern times. You know,
absolutely. I was actually,
but we won't.
Yeah. Sorry. No, go ahead. No, you first.
I was going to say we won't know until we know. You know.
Exactly. Yeah. And I think at that point, it's either you're prepared and you're like, glad I was prepared, or you weren't prepared and you're like, oh shit, I wasn't prepared.
Yeah.
Not going to be a good situation. Webb and I were just talking about it this morning, actually, right before I got on the podcast with you, about there's a lot of yoga studios all over the country who are closing their doors. And some of them are closing their doors because they have been forced out, they can't afford to stay open, so on and so forth. But believe it or not, there's actually some yoga studio owners who are choosing to close their doors because they believe that it's the practice, this is the ultimate practice. And I actually heard a woman, and I read the whole post, and it kind of made sense afterwards. She was like, you know, our practice of yoga is supposed to be the practice of ultimate surrender. That's the practice of yoga.
Yeah.
And this virus was an invitation to surrender, if even for just a limited time, or maybe for an unlimited time. And she said, I'm not going to fight it. I'm not going to resist it. That's literally what I teach all day long. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to close my doors. I'm going to allow the students who practice at my studio to also practice surrender. And if and when all of this blows over, maybe I will reopen. But until then, I'm just not going to do it. And I thought that was so powerful to me, because I was like, wow. Because in my mind, this is the way I think about it. In my mind, I'm fighting to keep the business going. Like, I'm like, yes, like, you're not going to shut my doors. I'm resilient. I'm a badass. My tribe is awesome. You're not going to shut us down. And I almost wonder, and after reading her passage, like, am I resisting this whole thing? Am I missing the message? You know what I mean? Like, maybe I'm doing too much. Like, maybe I'm encouraging people to do too much in a space where we're supposed to be like settling, you know? And it's just a very interesting concept. Cause I agree with you 100%. I think this was supposed to be a pause button. Some people heeded it very well, and some people practiced the pause, and other people can't stand the pause, you know?
Oh yeah. Yeah,
So,
and that it goes with, like, because we want to find a way quickly out of the pain. Like, nobody likes what's going on. We want to find a way quickly. We want it to be done. We want it to be over. But maybe we're supposed to sit with the pain. Maybe we're supposed to become a little bit more compassionate. Maybe we're supposed to become a little bit more understanding. You know, maybe, just maybe. Who knows? You know.
Yeah, we don't know anything. Just a thought.
No.
A theory.
Yeah.
And it's hard to sit in your own shit and to deal with it.
It is hard. Nobody wants to sit with their shit.
Ooh, especially if you are literally alone. I work with a client who lives by herself, and you know, not to give too much, but she lost her husband a little while ago, and she since then has been putting things in her life to keep her busy and to keep her going, and just to keep her mind and her body and her spirit well.
Yeah.
And since this virus, she's had to deal with it all.
And those emotions come bubbling up.
Oh yeah. So, and I'm really lucky that I've been able to stay in contact with her via the internet, via Zoom and stuff. But it's been incredible to witness her experience, because at the beginning, it was really hard for her. Like, she was like itching to get out. And then I think after a while, like, she started to sit in the discomfort of it. And then she dealt with it, and she started to pull back these layers. And I'm just like witnessing all of it happen, like over Zoom, over a few weeks. And
that's amazing.
Yeah. And, you know, just talked to her yesterday, and she's like, you know, she's ready to get back to things. Don't get me wrong. But she was like, I learned so much about myself since all of this has happened that I would have never allowed myself to even go to. Like, I would have never went there in my mind had I wasn't forced to do it. And, you know, this is a woman who's like, I think late 60s, early 70s.
Yeah.
You know, she's already, in my mind, I'm like, she's already lived her life. And here she is like having this huge awakening.
And she's got so much more life to live. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
none of that would have happened if none of this ever happened, you know? So stuff like that, you know, those are the stories that I like live for. I'm like,
Oh
this
yeah.
is so freaking cool, you know? So it's like, there's not always, you know, there's some good that comes out of it. But it always takes that, the darkness before the light and the burying of the seed before you find the sprout, you know?
And how often do you guys say that, during the yoga practice, I mean, really?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I got caught up in it too. Don't get me wrong. You know, I think for the first
Well, we're human.
yeah,
we are human.
like really good. You know, I'm a very anxious person. I need to be doing things often. It, thank God for me, bubbles out in creative ways. So I make things and I do things. But after a while, like, just like, you know, sitting in your discomfort, like there's only so much shit that I can make with my hands before
Yeah.
I start to go crazy. And
Yeah.
I do remember one day, just like you, I had like a huge breakdown and I was just like, you know, just crying a little bit and just, I could feel it in my body and just very anxious and just nervous and, you know, like lashing out like on the internet and like lashing out at my friends. I got to turn everything off and just like sleep for a whole day. But it does get to you, and it doesn't matter who you are. Like when you're isolated like that, like it really gets to you, and you can either choose to sit in the discomfort, learn from it, and come out of it better, or
Hmm.
you just never learn to sit in your discomfort and run around your house like a
Yeah.
person until the doors open back up and you can go into the world.
Yeah. Not everybody's going to learn the lesson. Maybe there's another time, hopefully not another pandemic, that's going to teach them. That's going to teach them. But yeah, it's
I hope
crazy.
everybody learns something from this. I mean, that's really my only hope.
I feel like that when we get on the other side of it and we can look back, that's when we'll realize what we got out of it.
Oh yeah.
I feel like, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I
Always.
mean, because even I've been watching, like, even, like business owners and stuff, like pivoting, and you can tell those that, like, even like you going to your online sales and doing your online classes and your online meditations, like readjusting to the times and things like that. And there was, um, I know my mom's cousin out in Colorado, one of the restaurants started to do like a weekly cooking um, demonstration. I wish somebody around here had done it. I didn't even know who to reach out to. I'm like, I'm going to reach out to a business owner and say, you need to do this. So what they would do is they would pack the ingredients for you, and you would take, and you could buy like a bottle of wine, and you would go home and you would do the cooking demonstration. How amazing, like, it's amazing what people have come up with to keep their businesses afloat. I really wanted to do that cooking demonstration, but unfortunately that restaurant is in Colorado.
Well, I know some people, we might be able to make that work out. Yeah, I'm like, that's a really freaking great idea.
Yeah. So to watch how these businesses have figured out new ways to make money while we can still stay at home with our families has been amazing to watch, to see what people have been doing in community. I remember when this whole started, people were coming together to get food for the kids that weren't going to have their free lunches and stuff like that. Those were the things that I tried to focus on, the people that are doing good in the world and how people adjust to this, in a more positive way. And I understand the anger comes from, because like you said, when you're frustrated and it bubbles up, sometimes we don't have control. Sometimes that shit just comes out.
Exactly. I practice yoga because I'm a crazy person, That's why I practice yoga. So I curve the crazy with the yoga. Let's not try to twist it here.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's been really cool watching and, not only witnessing all of these small business owners and how creative they are, but it's really cool to be a part of it. And,
Yeah.
Just being a part of watching my peer small business owners give to the community and keep their businesses afloat, and just the way that I think we've all connected, like, and even just in simple ways, like Jessica Moyer from the Ice House in Camden. started this text messaging chain, and it's got a lot of the studio owners and gym owners on there. And it's just a simple conversation of just kind of like, hey, what are you guys doing? How are you handling this? And it's just nice to have that conversation. And I know that Tula Yoga in Dover and we say often that it's always community over competition. And I love that. And it really does feel like in this time that it has become community over competition. And it seems like even if we don't know each other physically or we don't talk all the time, that we're supporting each other and we understand the need behind keeping each other afloat. So, and it's just really cool to be a part of that, because
amazing. Yeah.
You don't see that everywhere all the time. So it's really cool.
Yeah. You definitely don't see it with those big companies, like that's one of the things I've thought of is that I'm going to change the way I spend my money, who I'm going to support. I don't go to Walmart anyway, but no, I refuse to shop at Walmart.
I went to Walmart once during this pandemic, and I had a mini anxiety attack. I was like, oh, yeah, it's too much for me.
Yeah, but I, to think about different ways of, how I can support, local people and where I can spend my money, and that kind of thing. I thought, and how I spend my money, stupid stuff that I spend because I'm saving so much money. Girl, I haven't filled up my gas tank in over 2 months.
Yeah, and gas went down exponentially. It was 171 at one point. I was like, give me all the gas cans. Give me all of them. I'm going to fill them up right now.
Store that shit.
Yeah, for the next pandemic. Goodness gracious. Yeah, it's I bet you are saving a lot of money.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. You're either saving a ton of money or spending it all on Amazon.
Now, I haven't done a lot. Now, my daughter has done a lot of online. She's getting packages left and right. She joined this wine fairy thing, and she keeps getting wine fairy. Every time I turn around, the doorbell's ringing, and it's a package for her.
keeping her sane though, it's really cool that she can have that during that time.
4 bottles of wine in the refrigerator, and we don't even really drink wine.
Oh my gosh, that's so funny. I'm a victim of that too. I actually signed up for I'm addicted to loose teas now. So I signed up for this loose tea sample where I get 4 different loose teas every month. It was $11, and it was and it was my way of it was my way of supporting small business. They're small business out of, I want to say it was Colorado, or it could have been Ohio, one or the other. But yeah, and they send you $11 a month. They send you tea samples. And guess what I also did? They got me.
What?
They got me, girl. They got me. I love doTERRA. I really do. And, I always, I purchased from them before, but I always tend to go towards the more the cheaper, financially cheaper ones. But I just find that they're not really, they don't work as well.
No.
And Christina Hill, she comes to the studio. She's between her and Rebecca Richardson, they might as well just be doTERRA. And so just through the experience with them, they both really inspired me to really start to dive into that kind of oil world. So I've been doing a lot of that during this pandemic.
You're a good person for that, because you know how to do the blends and things like that, the different creative things that you can make with it. And that, are you selling it, or
So I'm not, I did sign up for whatever the,
yeah, so I'm just the wholesale. I
did the one above the wholesale.
Okay.
Yeah, whatever that one is. What is it called? I'm such a good business person. Yeah, if you need oils, y'all call me. Yeah, a consultant or whatever it is. But I'm excited about it because I do have a lot of people that ask and stuff like that. And I think that I do want to start living just a little bit more holistically, as far as because my mom, she's like, I hate when I come over and it smells like bleach at your house. I'm one of those people. I love bleach. I'm not gonna lie, I love it. You can clean anything with it. It makes your house smell good, but I know how harsh it is.
Yeah.
So then I'm like, all right, well, I guess I'll start using these essential oils. And then they had that great freaking sale because they knew everybody was home just shopping on the internet. Then I signed up for the sale. I got all my oils, and I've already started making blends. And Christina and I were like, we can't wait to get together to be all witchy and stuff. Yeah, so I'm
You would
excited.
not believe the number of oils I have. I don't sell to any, and I'm worse than you because I have people that'll be like, so like my friend Sadie, she's like, can you order me peppermint? It was like 3 oils, right? And she's like, how much do I owe you? And I'm like, oh, this is on me because you've helped me out. Or somebody will ask for an oil and I'll use my LRP points and they're like, how much? And I'm like, oh no, it's on me.
Oh, you're so sweet. But that's why it all comes back to you though, Janine. You know, I know it's like those stupid little things, but it all comes back to you.
Yeah.
Yeah,
But
that's
I
why
ain't making
it's
any
wonderful.
money doing any doTERRA.
That is so funny. Well, you know that if you ever wanted to, that the opportunity is there for you if you ever wanted to.
Yeah.
And I think for me, it's more of just a, I don't necessarily like want to sell it. Like, you know, I know that you'll get out of it whatever you put into it. But for me, it's like, I would just like to have a few little things to have at the studio in case people want it. Or if I
Yeah.
want to do like an essential oils class, just to like have it and have the knowledge of it. And
Yeah.
obviously, like, I want to work with Nikki because she's freaking
Oh,
fantastic.
yeah, for sure.
Yeah. So that was another good reason to sign up. So yeah, so during, I would say that's what got me, the doTERRA and the tea samples. But otherwise, I've been trying to save my money and yeah, because for me, I'm like, I want to build a yoga studio on my property. Like I'm tired of renting from people with this whole thing after, you know, just
I read the problem. Yeah.
Yeah, and like I just think it's, and I know everybody's different. Like they're running a business. I get that, but I don't want to be the mule of their business, you know? And I just think it's absolutely ridiculous. And I just like, it hurts me in my stomach to know that people would do that, to know that your business is closed and they still are taking money from you. It just makes me feel so nasty and dirty. So
like they don't understand we're all in this together, you know?
know.
we're all in this together.
Yeah,
It affects me, it affects you, but apparently not.
Yeah.
Know?
And I mean, I know that this is a lot bigger than money. And I know a lot of, you know, people have argued that like, well, it's just money. Maybe to you, it's just money, you know, but
I have a daughter.
When it is just money and people want it. Everybody wants it, you know? So like,
unfortunately, Nyla's going to want a meal or two a day.
Exactly. And I think that's been one of the most challenging things for me is like, you know, it's just the ripple down effect, you know, like there's certain things like as a business owner, practices that I would never practice that I am almost forced to have to do now because of the powers that be. And so it's been a huge learning experience for me, and it's really motivated me to get the ball rolling on building my own studio on my own property and really just getting, because I'm like you, I'm a people pleaser. And as much as I want to say that I'm not, and as much as I want to say like, you know, I do what I want, I don't. I do what everybody else wants me to do. You know, I schedule classes according to when people want to have them. I offer classes that people want to have, you know what I mean? Like, and I've kept my business in certain locations because of where certain people are, you know what I mean? And now I'm like, no, I'm not going to do that. I'm going to really start living for myself.
Yeah.
And it's so funny when you have time to reflect because you might think that you're living a certain way or doing a certain thing. And then you get a chance to kaleidoscope out of it and you look in and you're like, that's not how it is at all.
I'm doing this for everybody else.
Yeah, exactly.
And the thing is when you need them to do for you,
sometimes they're not always there. Yeah.
Yeah.
But I must say, no, go ahead.
I was going to say, that'll be exciting, a yoga studio on your own property. Yeah.
Exactly how I want it, built to suit. Yeah, absolutely. I mean, you talk about the dream, that would definitely be it.
That's a big dream.
Yes. Yeah. And then having awesome instructors like you to come there and teach.
I'm not teaching. I'm the spiritual practice.
Okay. Well, just to have you there in presence. You know how many
I am so
that?
Huh?
You know how many people start off saying that? I'm not going to teach.
I've heard that. Yeah.
They end up being the best.
Well, you know, I'm so nervous because I took a class with Ryan once.
Mm-hmm.
Many moons ago, and it was an intense class. So I know, you know, kind of, I mean, I don't know him, but I took one class with him, so I get the impression on how he teaches. And I haven't practiced because I've been ill, and I wasn't like really, you know, what's the word? Like I wasn't like the best yoga student anyway. And I'm like, oh my God, I'm gonna look like a fool.
No, you're not. It'll be great. No, you'll be perfectly fine. Just remember to modify, do what you got to do. You'll be totally fine. I'm so excited for you to go through this experience.
I'm excited. And I was so thrilled when the email came out because everything was canceled. We had a trip that we were supposed to take in March. Corinna's graduation was canceled. The most exciting news I got was when yoga teacher training was not canceled. We're just pushing it back.
Yes. Yeah. I was like, oh, no. This has been a dream of mine for a really long time. And I had a deadline in my mind that I had to meet for this training. And it was already pushed back because I had Nyla. So I was like, oh, no, we're not canceling this. We're going to push it back as far as we can until we can actually have it. So I'm really glad to hear that gave you, some cheer and some hope during your quarantine.
Oh yeah, for sure. It's like the small moments, that you have to take. And you know what? And I think that's a perfect time. I think, in the middle of June, if I'm not tested negative by then.
I have faith that you will be. You will. Well,
I'm pretty sure this week has got to be my week.
It's got to be. It's great. I can feel it. It's a new moon, right? New moon, right. New energy,
I talked to Anita. I set my intention.
That's awesome. I have hope that everything will work out just fine and you'll be right back to your new norm very soon.
Yeah. Yes. I hate that new normal.
No, what else do you say? And I just try to avoid saying it altogether.
Yeah.
Like when I'm like, I'm just excited to get back. Yeah. And I just stop there. I'm like, just so excited to get back to it. I don't even want to say it anymore. It's so stupid.
I know. But it's true. It's going to be our new normal. We're going to be wearing masks. Now, it's funny because I was wearing masks before it was mandated to wear a mask. I was doing everything right. I did everything right. Before we got sick, I had only seen like 3 people in a matter of like 2 months. I was only going to the grocery store once a week. I was wearing my mask when I went to the grocery store, and yet we still caught it.
Crazy. A friend of mine who lives down near the beach, she's a nurse, so she does work in the health field, but she had made a post the other day that she tested positive, and she was like, I do everything. I wear the shoe booties. I spray myself with Lysol before I go in the house and when I come out of the house, and she does all.
That's her heart.
Yeah, she does all this stuff. She has a daughter that she lives with, so I think that's why she's so, she ended up catching it. She caught it too. And I think that you're like the 4th or 5th person that said, I did everything I was supposed to do. I know a handful of people, 5 that I could name right now, that tested positive, which are like in my semi-circle, which is like crazy to think.
Yeah.
But a couple of people have said, I did everything that I was supposed to do and still caught it.
Yeah.
Now, how are you handling like getting your groceries or getting things that you need, like since you guys couldn't go out?
You know what? That's the other blessing is that, earlier when I said people don't do that's not true. Since we've been stuck in the house, the amount of love and support that we've gotten just in terms of text messages, phone calls, everybody's offering, what can I do for you? So my mom and dad will drop off groceries to me. Friend Sadie will drop off groceries to me. So they'll be like, I'm going out, what do you need? And I'll just send them a list, and I'll Venmo or Cash App the money, and they'll just drop them off. So yeah, people really, and it's also a problem for me because I'm so independent. I'm having to depend on people.
Yeah.
And I don't like that. I think that's another reason I want to be able to do my own grocery shopping. And not only that, but bless my mom's heart, we had sent her to the grocery store and we had asked for not French toast. It was some kind of cereal, and she came back with it. and then there was another kind of, and she got like the generic in the bag brand. And Curtis like, what is this? And I'm like, we're just grateful we got food to eat. You shut your mouth.
Right.
Right. You just be grateful. I'm sorry that people are doing this for us, but to be able to go to the grocery store to get the things that we like will be nice.
Oh my gosh. Yeah, you're like, yeah, welcome to my world. Just a little view into my world when I was a child.
Yeah.
Oh my goodness.
Well, there was something else she got, and my daughter just shook her head. She's like, oh my Lord.
Like, Mama, what are you doing? Oh my gosh.
Well, the thing is too, because at that time, I don't know what grocery stores look like, but every time we went into Food Lion, the shelves were empty. I mean, you didn't have a choice in what brand you got, when you needed things.
Yeah. Yeah. It's been pretty, I haven't really been out much. I went to Walmart once and then I went to Aldi's once. And both times they both had toilet paper. I don't really know. They both had toilet paper and they were pretty well stocked with stuff. They didn't have eggs. Neither one of them had eggs the times that I went.
Wow.
But that was really it. They really had everything else. But again, those were the only 2 times I went out and it was like too much for me to handle. Yeah, I mean, that's like one thing I think that people just, I don't know, people aren't respectful in stores. It's very strange.
No.
Yeah, so I was like, I'm just not gonna go out in the stores anymore. I just felt myself again getting like really anxious. I was like, no, I'm just gonna stay. But but Webb's been working. He's still working basically full time, and he goes to the store once or twice a week, so we don't have to do it, which is really nice. But yeah, it's almost like nothing has changed for him at all.
No. Well, there's a lot of people, I say that, I've thought a lot of people whose lives haven't really changed at all. Like it hasn't, not that there's anything wrong with that. I mean, it's a good thing he's still working.
Yeah.
You know, good for him. Yeah.
Yeah, but it just is like, why? Why is it okay for him to work and do all these things, but other people like have to stay home and they're like lockdown is just very strange. The differences, you know. Oh, did I lose you, Janine?
I think you froze.
Oh, there we go. We both froze for a second.
I see you.
I can see you.
Where'd you go?
Maybe if I go closer to my monitor. Well, that's probably, let's see, what time is it? Wow. It's 10:20. Oh, there you go. I can see you a little bit. It's 10:20. Yeah.
That was a
yeah.
good
well,
podcast.
Yeah, I was gonna say, well, when you're having a good conversation, it flows naturally like that. It just goes on by. So is there anything like anything that you would say to the listeners or to the viewers, like about COVID at all? Like if they feel like maybe if they haven't gotten tested, like for me, like I haven't gotten tested, do you think I should?
No, not unless you've been exposed to somebody. If you've been in contact with somebody that's been positive, the thing is I don't think they'll test you anyway. I don't think that they're just Now, you know what? I'm sorry. I'm giving false information because I know that sites are starting to open up to but when we were starting testing, we would have to call and they would send you through a questionnaire to make sure before they would make you an appointment.
Okay.
But I know they're opening testing sites where anybody can go and get tested. But I feel like that unless you've been exposed to somebody, that's the only thing I'd say. That the thing that I feel we did really good is that when we heard that Corinna had a potential exposure, we locked down completely. I'm telling you, we've been in contact with nobody, and I have no doubt that nobody got sick because of us. And that helps stop the spread, you know?
Yes. And that might be why your symptoms, you know, I guess I don't want to say weren't as bad because they were pretty bad for 10 days, but maybe that's why you were able to get well is because you did quarantine and you did all of the right steps and you did exactly what you were supposed to do to stop the spread.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's the important part is we just need to be conscious about stopping the spread. I don't feel like people have to stop their lives, but if you catch wind that somebody you know tested positive and you were in any proximity, go home, stay there for 2 weeks. You know, if you come out, you know, if you get no symptoms in that time, I think you're okay. But I think we just need to start thinking about stopping this. Like, what can we do individually to stop? You know, we're only responsible for ourselves.
Yeah, absolutely. Very true.
We can't, you know.
Yeah. We can't stop the world, but we do have to be responsible for ourselves. Exactly. And we know how that works too. You take care of yourself, and when you take care of yourself, you take care of everyone else that's around you.
Exactly.
So it's really important to do that.
Yeah.
Well, I hope that you get that negative test this coming week. I will pray for you. I'll send you all my Reiki energy. And of course, if you need anything, just reach out and let me know. But I appreciate you taking the time today to talk to me about this and just give me a little bit more insight on things and educate me and educate the listeners.
This was fun. It was good to talk to you.
Yes, it was. I'm going to check in with you next week if I don't see it on Facebook first about your test, okay?
Okay.
All right, lady. I love you.
Because I want to come to the yoga studio too.
Yes, I want you to come to the yoga studio. We need you there. We miss you. I'm going to be so excited to get back to it.
I miss you guys too.
I miss you so much. But if you need anything, just let me know. And I hope you have a beautiful rest of your weekend.
You too.
All right, tell Corinna I said hi.
Will do. Bye-bye.
Bye.